Hey, good morning. Welcome to another move sesh. Hope you're doing well today. It's Tabata Thursday, I think, yeah. Do you guys love Tabata the way I do? Or do you care? Or do you even like really, is it inconsequential to you? As a trainer, I love Tabata because it's a really easy class plan. Hey, Betty. All right, let's get started here. So I just put up a question on my Facebook page asking about who does online workouts. So I noticed that you guys answered, and Jen answered, and Darcy answered, and Betty answered, and so the reason I did that was because I want to know what people like about an online workout. So I am in a couple of Facebook groups where a lot of women talk about someone named Carolyn Gervin, I'm not really sure. Like, so anytime the word, stop, it start timer. So that's probably one thing you like about an online workout, a trainer that starts the timer. So it made me curious, like, because I kept noticing this person, like, it's almost like you say online workout, it's like synonymous with saying Carolyn Gervin. And, you know, how does one become that sort of famous within the space of, like, you know, a title or a brand, right? Like, I know in the town that I live in, there's a realtor who has kind of the, when you say Brooklyn, you automatically think of this particular realtor. You know, like, how do you become so well known? Anyway, so where I'm going with this is, it made me curious, well, what makes, you know, a good online workout, like a workout that people will, you know, be loyal to and talk about, tell other people about more so, right? And so I wonder, and I don't know these women, I wondered, why do they like this particular person? So I checked her out. I checked her out on YouTube, and she's very good looking. So maybe that's a component, like that people like to look at somebody who's very attractive, and you know, she's pretty shredded and ripped. She's pretty fit looking. You know, so maybe that's part of the appeal, but it's got to go deeper than that, because there's a million online, you know, trainers that are really good looking, right? Like tons of them. And so what, beyond that, like what makes a program that you like to follow? So I'm asking you, if you're doing this workout and you have been doing my sessions, I would like to know, you know, why you chose these. Like, what is it about? I'm doing some market research, basically. I would like to know, you know, what, if I was to improve upon these sessions, what would that look like? So, you know, automatically, the first thing that comes to mind is, yeah, okay, I could look better. I could look less sweaty and gross on this. That's not going to happen right now because, you know, nicely put, I'll say that's part of my charm. That's just not who I am. So who I am is who I am. Without that, I know that probably video quality could improve. The one idea that I came up with was to have like a visual timer that you guys can see embedded into the video that's counting down. So I'm trying to figure out how to do that. So yeah, so like tell me kind of what music perhaps. Okay, so, and I didn't tell you guys, remember to take this warm up at your own pace. The first round that we do is always low, no impact. I've just added a hop, and that's optional, so you can keep the hop at marches. So I mean, there's another you know, potential for improvement is to have a little window or screen that shows the two options. Basically videography, right? Like video quality. So that's potentially beyond the scope of my abilities because I'm not a filmmaker, I'm not a videographer. It's something that I could consider and look into. Because basically, I guess the move sessions that I put up onto YouTube are just replays of what we do here live, right? So they're not filmed. You know, where a lot of workout video series, I'm sure, are actually, you know, filmed with a crew and a set, so to speak. And, you know, that's why they look so good, because they're working out, but they're not. This is my actual workout. I went for a run this morning, I came home, I had breakfast, I did a bit of stretching, I got 350 of my core in, and I come in here and work out with you guys. So, but I'm curious and I'm intrigued at how can I, you know, maybe create a product that could be better. So if you have any feedback, I would really appreciate, this is my ask of you and my return favor for, you know, offering myself up 2 to 3 times a week at no charge. Give me some feedback, give me some, you know, even affirm what it is that you do like, you know, like why you keep coming back, why you do these videos, and then, you know, what you'd love to see that I could do better at that might make these videos take off a little bit more. That was never the intention, really. The intention in the beginning was really just to get myself to work out, get myself to show up. And so you were my accountability. And fast forward, I don't know, what is this? Are we going on 2 years of doing this, Betty, or 3? I don't even know. We started, so we did 2023 and 2022 and 2021. Is this going to be the wrap? Like, because I think we started in January or February doing these. It wasn't 2020, so it must have been 2021. So 3 years, right? The original intention of these was, you know, just a mutual kind of community of women doing these live videos. And then the reason that they made their way to YouTube was because I had a few clients that used to come to me in person that could not, because of COVID, come anymore and are not on social media. And so YouTube was a platform that I could put them on that everybody could access. And so it was like, when I would get 6 people doing my videos, I'd be like, oh, I wonder who those 6 people are. And then it's grown now. Some of the videos get like 30 or 40 people doing them, which is really tiny in the grand scheme of things. But in perspective, I'm like, well, who are those 30 or 40 people doing? Who are you? Who are you? I want to know you. I want to build a community, right? And so I'd like to connect us to each other. So that's what I'm trying to figure out, is how to create more community. You know, here on Facebook where we do these live 3 times a week, we have a little tight-knit community of women who know each other in the online space. I've never met most of you. I finally met Jen Sharp this past year, but it was a couple of years of doing these sessions together before we met. Oh my God, do I ever have like massive heartburn right now? So the wheels are turning, you guys. Anyway, today we're going to work on legs, butt, core. Mostly we'll focus on butt and core and those kind of accessory muscles. You know, our general routine is we work out 1 of the week. On Tuesdays we do legs. Workout 2 of the week. On Wednesdays we do upper body. And workout 3 we do kind of more like the fine-tune work, I like to think of it as. You know, the inner outer thigh muscles, the glutes. What I like to refer to as the accessory muscles, like the muscles that are supporting, so core, Smaller group, sometimes more complex movements to focus on, you know, I don't know, I'm trying to think, coordination, that kind of thing, balance. So one thing I'm missing this week, which I never thought I would say, because it used to be one of my least favorite exercises, I'm missing 747s. So we're gonna do those today. We're gonna do some split squats today. We're gonna do some glute thrusters. So stuff that, you know, to complement what we've already done and fine tune it. Probably we're gonna do some Copenhagens. But let me start by setting my timer up for, it's hot and humid today. I was not expecting that. I kind of thought we were over the summer, but not quite at fall. Kind of that nice little in-between stretch where we get nice cool mornings and evenings, but we still get quite hot in the day. I was really enjoying that. And this morning I got up and I thought, holy, it's already 20 degrees. Let's start with our split squats today. I'm gonna pull my bench out because we're gonna use it for a couple different things. So now you can do split squats like I'm doing, or you can do lunges. So if you're a beginner, you can do something to the effect of this. So with or with, so I always say that the first thing you can do to downgrade the exercise in terms of difficulty is lose the weight. So you can do lunges looking like this with or without the weight. And then if you want to increase the difficulty, you're going to do split squats. I actually did a post on my social, on a couple of different, Insta and Facebook, asking people's least favorite exercise, and I touted mine as split squats and wall sit. And it's funny because an instructor once said to me years ago, when you identify your least favorite exercise, it's usually the one that you need to do most. It's usually going to be your biggest opportunity for improvement because it's revealing to you where you're weak. And so if you can actually embrace the exercises you least like, you know, you have the biggest opportunity for improvement. Okay, so split squats. And so over the last couple of years, I've actually, you know, matured myself a little bit and said, yeah, those are the things I'm going to work on. And as a result, you actually start to dislike this exercise a little bit less. And so 747s, I like more than I used to. Split squats I don't hate nearly as much. They're still really hard. And wall sit. So now I'm like, well, you know, I feel like I have to reassess my least favorite. So I'm curious, you know, a lot of people, I expected to say burpees. Somebody said jumping jacks, which I get. When you've aged a little bit, jumping jacks they take a little bit. Because, you know, you pee your pants a little bit, don't you? Your legs are feeling it this week, but in such a good way. There's such a difference in fatigue on your body between running fatigue and strength training fatigue. I'm going to say in air quotes that I like both. But this week, I've reached a turning point in how I've been feeling since I went to Hard Rock. I would say I'm feeling more of the kind of strength, sort of the fatigue I was feeling prior to Hard Rock, which was more training fatigue than exhaustion fatigue or breakdown fatigue. I think it's really important to learn your body and you can only do this through experience, what the different types of fatigue and soreness mean. In fact, it reminds me of a coach that my son had last season who said, at the very beginning of the season, he said to the boys, you need to learn the difference between tired, sore, and injured, right? Tired, typically you can push through. Sore, typically you can push through. There's a difference between sore and injured. And that's a fine line. You need to learn to distinguish, that line, which side of that line you're on, because, and even with tired and fatigued, right? Like, I'd say there's probably a difference between being tired and being fatigued. To be fatigued, they're probably synonyms if you're an English major. But to me, I translate the two very differently. Like, fatigue is like indicating breakdown, which might signify that you need some rest and recovery. Because rest and recovery is really important. I mean, that is where the change is going to happen, right? But in the beginning, we probably, it's okay to overemphasize rest and recovery, because what we really want to do is keep ourselves moving forward. And we have to kind of identify like the best way to do that, right? Like, sometimes it's about working with your mind first before realizing, my body doesn't need quite as much rest and recovery as I think it does. But that takes experience to figure out, like, and, honestly, I'm still learning it to some degree when my body's fatigued and when it's just tired, like this morning or yesterday. And, I mentioned yesterday to you guys, we're gonna go to 747's next. That I was feeling tired yesterday. In fact, I did not sleep well last night. It was one of those nights that I kept waking up thinking I slept through my alarm and jumping out of bed. Like, there was one point where I grabbed my phone, I went to jump out of bed, and I looked at the time, it was 3:15. It's like, no. The lucky thing is, for me, that I'm very grateful for at the moment. Okay, so we're grabbing the weight. Getting your balance. The one thing I want you to make sure is that weight stays right next to your body. There's a bit of technique involved in this particular exercise, so it's really important to not use weights until you feel you're ready. And you can do so with proper form. Those of you who've been doing my classes for a while know I did these for a long time with no weight, for that reason, because this was a hard movement for me. One, it requires core strength. Two, it requires balance. Three, it requires the ability to hinge from the hips. That was a movement pattern that was just really difficult for me, because this is the area that I tend to feel stuck in. So there's no better way to describe it. That's the area in my body that tends to feel jammed, stuck, inflamed, whatever you want to call it. I continually work really hard at mitigating that, but it's always the area that likes to remind me you're not 29 anymore. So important to, you want to hinge from the hips. You want that back leg to come up nice and high. You want to feel your glute, both glutes working really. There's some balance involved, of course. So foot strength. And if you're new and you're finding that the balance is difficult, stand by a wall and use the wall for balance. And certainly don't incorporate weights until you feel you're ready to. It took me a long time, and I feel like I've gotten really strong at these. But it didn't happen overnight. So I've been thinking a lot this week about like motivation and why sometimes we really struggle to do the things we know we need to do, or to prioritize the things. So why, I guess this is twofold. I think, because I just started back to in-person training, so I started back to working with clients in person again. So I have in-person small group training classes, and it's the ladies that enrolled are a combination of previous clients that I used to train and brand new clients. And my previous clients, they're already somewhat committed to, like, if they're going to sign up, they're going to show up. And then the new clients, I'm having, a hard time with I'm noticing they're having a hard time committing, so things keep coming up and they have to keep canceling. And, I waffle with this because part of me is like, well, it's like up to you to show up. I can't help you if you don't show up. But then the other part of me is like, it's part of my job as your coach or trainer to help you overcome those hurdles that is you, right? It prevents you from showing up, right? So whether it's like, oh, I end up having to drive my kids somewhere, or work got in the way, or honestly, it was a really rough day today and I was really, really tired. And so what is the difference between those who succumb to those excuses or those stories, and those who say, you know what, I made a commitment, I'm going. I paid for it, I'm going. I feel like crap, I don't want to go, but I know I'll feel better after. Like, what happened? What is the difference between those two people? And so it had me sort of thinking about that. You know what? We're going to do Copenhagen's next. So we're going to do it at the beginning instead of the end of the workout today. So the alternative to Copenhagen's is going to be side plank. And I'm just going to show you a couple of options, because side plank can be done a couple of different ways. So option one, this is the beginner version, is you're going to do it from your knee. Okay, and option two is you extend that leg out and your front foot is ahead. Option three is like this. So that's side plank. Copenhagen's is next level. Copenhagen's is going to work the inner thighs tremendously so, and make you quiver like a little baby. And I should have gotten a mat for my elbow. I'm going to be complaining about my elbow, but anyway. Copenhagen's are definitely the most difficult. We're going to end up going up into plank on the bench on this leg. And we're going to keep this leg bent. Here we go. And lifting. So what is the difference? So it has me thinking, right, because ultimately those people, it's not, often we think, oh, they're not as motivated, they're not as committed. But what they are is committed to other things, right? So how do you shift, how do you shift that for yourself, where you actually start, you take on a new thing in your life. So you sign up for classes, right? And, that's a new commitment you make. But because it's new to you, sometimes is going to be perceived as the first thing to go because it's the newest. And so I really think, if I really sort of observe and speculate on the whole situation, I think it comes down to a goal. And I think in the absence of a goal, if we don't have something that we're working towards that makes that thing that's new in your life and arguably difficult and uncomfortable, if you don't have a goal, why are you doing it? So when push comes to shove and it's like time to go do that thing, you don't go like, why am I doing it? Like, there's no reason. It's easy to let go of. Super easy to let go of. So I think what drives us to really make those changes in our lives that are new and uncomfortable is the presence of a goal that is more important to us than the reasons we don't want to do it, right? So, for example, maybe, like, I'm picturing somebody who is, and this might be you, this is the beginning for you. Like, it's new, it's hard, it's unfamiliar, it's uncomfortable. There's so much resistance around it, right? And, everything in you is screaming, no. How do you counter that and say yes? You have to have a reason that's more important to you than avoiding the discomforts, right? So, for example, like, maybe you're trying to avoid a surgery. Maybe your option is take care of yourself or go under the knife. Maybe you've been diagnosed with, diabetes, and exercise is an option to, instead of drugs. Like, maybe, I don't know, there's so many reasons that can give you that why that you really have to think of. Maybe it's for your kids. Maybe, like, you can't keep up with your kids. You can't keep up with your grandkids. Maybe you have a trip coming and you want to hike on that trip, or maybe you're going to Europe and you want to be able to walk all over Europe. And right now you're not going to have that ability. Like, so that every time you're faced with the resistance, that is what pops into your mind is, but if I don't do it, I don't get to do that, or I don't get that, or whatever. So that's like number one. The other thing that I think is important to recognize, aside from the goal, so having a goal that is a worthy goal, Bob Proctor calls it, that is more important to you than staying comfortable and staying kind of obliging to your current paradigm. And that is the other piece, is your paradigm. And that is, I think, probably questionably even more important than the goal, is your current paradigm is how you sort of see yourself, your beliefs around yourself. You've been overweight. Oh my God, huge dragonfly just flew in here. If you've been overweight for your whole life, let's say, that's how you see yourself. So it's easy to bail on yourself because you actually deep down don't believe that you are the type of person that does this kind of thing, right? Okay, we are going to do what are we going to do? My mind is blank right now. We're gonna do deadlifts. So we're gonna do so I'm gonna give you two options. So your first option for deadlift is to do them with no weight. It's gonna look like this. Your second option is to add weights. We're gonna do RDLs, they're called. So I don't really know what that stands for. Something deadlifts. I want to say Romanian, but that's maybe wrong. What we're gonna do is we're gonna do single, like, suitcase deadlifts. So I'm gonna grab a couple weights here. a couple different options. I'm working on getting heavy. These are going to target your glutes and hamstrings. That is what we're after today. And then our last set, not our last set, but our next set, we're going to do hamstring curls and glute bridges on the ball. That's the other thing I wanted to do. All right, so we're going to, if you're a beginner, you're not doing it like I'm doing it. Because you want to keep that body even. Quite hard. So you can do this with 1 or 2 weights, but one weight makes it significantly harder. What I don't want you to do is tweak your back. So your best bet is probably do these with 2 weights. I may end up switching to that because my back has been fussy lately. But what I want you to focus on with this one is your chest is out, core is in, shoulders are back, not forward, back. The best way to make sure your shoulders are back is to stick that chest out. Try to think of your feet both being planted and you're pushing up with both feet. Pushing that floor, I'd say pushing that floor away. So it breaks my heart because I see people that I really want to help, right? I really want them to know that all they have to do is start and take a step every day. Like the changes that we can make in our body, if we just start making different choices. The amazing thing about the human body is how quickly it will actually respond. Like I was reading, even drinking, right? So, and okay, here's a story I wanted to share with you. So for the last few years, like, I was talking to a client yesterday who's having a really hard time, honestly, making that shift. And I said, I understand how hard it is. Don't think I don't understand. And I'll tell you this, for the last few years, and it increased, like it didn't start like this, but it basically slowly crept up on me that basically drinking wine was way more important to me than training. Okay, so that sounds silly, but it's something that started, like in the beginning, it was like I trained and my reward was wine. And so I trained more, I got to have wine. Like they went hand in hand. There was a point that I sort of thought to myself, I think these two things are almost getting in the way of each other. One, I can't do both well, but I was not willing to give up my wine. And I mean, it reached a point, probably last year that I realized I had to pick, and I chose wine. So my training and my health came second to wine. Drinking. I mean, that's the honest truth. And I was not willing to change that until something came up in my life that was worth more than wine to me, and that was the Hard Rock entry. And that was honestly the shift for me, and that wasn't something that I chose. So I understand how hard it is. It's not easy just to go find a goal that means a lot to you. But we want to be looking, right? Like we want to always be seeking the next goal. And I mean, I think there was a higher power that sort of nudged me. I saw in a show yesterday, the universe, everything happens for a reason. Our job is to figure out what that reason was. And I loved those words, right? So everything that happens to us, good or bad, there's always a reason for it. And it's up to us to figure out, like, why? What were we supposed to derive from that situation, good or bad? right? And so that entry to hard rock was the universe knocking on my door. In my mind, sounds dramatic, but trying to save me. And it's what I needed, right? Sometimes we get that knock on the door in the way of a doctor's visit. Sometimes it's in the way of a friend or a family member getting sick or passing, kind of is our wake-up call, right? Like those messages come in all different ways. It's our job to determine like what the message was. And so that was the moment that I decided I had to see what I was capable of without that thing in my life. And as it turned out, that was the exact thing that I needed to get rid of. And, you know, my whole world changed. And it became, you know, in the moment, I was not really consciously aware that that's what I was doing, right? And so I look at those of us who are struggling to, you know, we get really down on ourselves. We're doing glute. Now you can do these glute bridges on the ground. This is me increasing the difficulty for myself. But the option to do this with your feet on the ground is also very effective. I empathize with, so the next one we're doing is hamstring curls, so we're going to curl the ball in. I empathize because I get how that feels to really not want to prioritize the things even though you know you should, and how down on ourselves we get. Oh, this is hard. I can relate, I can understand, because I did that for the last few years. And, you know, I was ashamed, and that shame causes us to just, well, we deal with that in different ways, right? We deal with that shame in the form of denial, which is what I did. You know, I had all kinds of logical stories as to why I was perfectly entitled to choose wine over all the other things. And luckily, the Savior came. Oh, these are killer. You want to keep that butt up. You should be feeling these in the glutes and the hamstrings. Oh my God. Woo! The burn. So good to strengthen those muscles though. And I'm enormously grateful for that wake-up call. And the race, you know, didn't turn out the way I wanted. I didn't finish the race, which plagues me, but that's the next thing, you know, that the universe is telling me something that I have to figure out what, you know. It wasn't like a rags to riches type, okay, you know, I got in, I went, I conquered. I didn't quite fully conquer, but I did conquer a lot. And so for that, I will be grateful for. And, you know, recognize, oh my gosh, these are absolutely destroying me today. But there's more, right? I'm not done yet. I got something else to conquer, obviously. Is what I'm taking from it. I don't know, what do you guys think? But, so, sometimes it's going to be 2 steps forward, 1 step back, right? So sometimes we're going to disappoint ourselves, right? So again, to put it into the context of like, oh, I really, you know, I need to show up for these workouts and I'm just not. Okay. How are you doing with your diet? How are you doing with your water? How are you doing with your sleep? How are you doing with, you know, your self-care? Are you winning in other areas? Okay, focus on that so that you know, like, you're not failing everywhere in your life. We're never failing everywhere in our life. But also use that to say, hey, I'm not failing, oh my God, failing at these right now. I'm not failing in other areas of my life, but that means I can conquer in this area where I'm not, right? And so like I try to tell myself that too, like, you know, even financially. There's ways I'd like to improve my financial success. And I think if I was able to conquer this in this spot in my life, then I can conquer this too. I just gotta figure it out. I just haven't figured it out yet, right? You know, one of my favorite pieces of advice from one of my mentors is always be curious. Be curious instead of critical. Curious, so you let yourself down, you failed. Why? Be curious instead of critical. Be self-curious instead of self-critical. I like that. I like that a lot. Okay, we're gonna finish with no, we are not going to do that. We're gonna finish with deadlifts, single deadlifts. Sorry. I'll go to the deadlifts right now. You know, I like deadlifts for three reasons. One reason is they really focus on, I think they're one of the best ways to strengthen your core. The other reason is because my lower back, I like to strengthen my lower back, and I think deadlifts help with that. And they also help hamstrings. So all the places in life where I'm weak. Not just me, most of us. Like, it is all about me, but it's not all about me. It's all about me because I know that you have the same struggles as me. That's why it's all about me. Redemption. That was me redeeming myself. So many layers to our mind, right? And that's another area of curiosity. It's just like, why do I do the things that I do? So same cues as before. You want that chest out and shoulders back. So if you can think chest out, head up, you're generally not going to curve your shoulders because it's pretty hard to stick your chest out and curve your shoulders forward at the same time. And the other thing, and this is kind of totally off tangent in another direction, but I would encourage you to stay the course. Like, just keep showing up because things will all of a sudden change. And you know when they change when you're usually at your lowest. Like, they change when you're literally on the verge of giving up. You feel hopeless. You feel like you just can't anymore. That is the very moment before things are about to flip completely for you. I swear. Because last week, and this is not the first time, this is just another instance of this happening, I was feeling like, I don't know, like I am just not bouncing back from Colorado. Like I'm just not getting back to where I was. Like I don't know what to do. But I got a little glimmer of, one run, it was a little bit better than the last one, and the next run was a little bit better than the last one. Each one was a little bit better, but still not where I was. And then, boom, this week, after I did my 50K on Friday, and then I took the weekend and I rested, and honestly, I felt really broken. And this is one time, it was like kind of I felt really broken. I went to see Dennis, my massage guy, on Monday, and I said, I don't even know what to tell you to work on. Like, I've got little issues and nuances and niggles everywhere. Like, my feet hurt, my calves hurt, my hips hurt, my back hurts. I just like, I don't know what's going on. I listened to my body, and I've learned to listen. I was like, shut it right down, because all this that's going on that needs to heal. But all of a sudden this week, it turned a corner for me, and just a little bragging moment for a second. Today's run and yesterday's run, I was a little bit. I was like, I felt that fire again, I felt that fitness again. I was like, I got it. It's coming back. I got it. I had some oomph. I was able to push on the hills. I was able to run fast. My body was starting to feel less broken, let's say. And that broken, I'm being kind of dramatic, but like just that kind of feeling of like, something's just not right. All of a sudden that lifted, and I feel like it's coming back. It's coming back. And I'm going to be good, and I'm going to be so ready to go beat myself down again in less than 3 weeks. Less than 3 weeks. Hopefully, what is today? Thursday. 3 weeks today will be my day 3. And that is it for today, and I apologize for the short class yesterday. I remember I couldn't figure out how the class went so fast, and Darcy reminded me after we started at 9:30 instead of 9:15, and I said, oh, right. So anyway, sorry for the short class yesterday, but we got our full class in today, and wishing you guys an awesome weekend, and I'll see you all next week. Take care.